Hey, this is Terry Bain with Business Growth Time. Today, we've got Rosh Sillars, and we're going to be talking about SEO and copywriting. With me, as always, is my good friend, old high school pal, the lovely and talented Janet E. Johnson, where today the E stands for empathetic. I actually gave that one some thought today, Janet. Wrote it down even.
You weren't looking around the room for
I wasn't trying to figure out if an E word would just pop into my head. Pre-game. It was 18 seconds ago.
Are you empathetic for my cold? Is that what it is?
I'm feeling empathy for you and your little bit of cold and sickness and raspy voice.
Yep.
I think you just smoked a bunch of cigarettes before you got what happened there back in the old days. So, how are you, aside from having a cold? You're good?
Yes. Very good. Very good. It's good to be here. It's always great to be on this show.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited about this. We've got Rosh Sillars, and Rosh and I have known each other for close to 10 years. I knew Rosh originally as a fantastic photographer that does a lot of work with his talented eye and works with a handful of different companies in the area, anything from corporate shots to food shots to other types of business. But here's what's interesting. I don't know if you know this, but we had a little bit of an economic meltdown. Did you hear anything about that, Janet?
No, never. We're not in the construction business or anything.
Right. So that didn't have any impact on your life in construction. No. That's hilarious. That's right. Your husband owned a construction company.
Mm-hmm.
So he, during that time, wasn't getting as much work as he would like as a photographer. So what he did is he learned how to use the web more effectively, became Google certified, and I'll let him talk a little bit about that, learned how to write some fantastic SEO copy, and really drive traffic to him. And as a result, became known as the photographer. Right, so he applied what he was learning to grow his craft. Travels all over, does a lot of presentations on photography and using social media as photography. Wrote at least 2, if not 4 books, somewhere in there. And I'm getting the 4 symbol. So just a super accomplished guy. And honestly, one of the nicest dudes you're ever going to meet. So if I could introduce Mr. Rosh Sillars of Rosh.com, R-O-S-H. It's actually Rosh Media Group, but he gets to just be R-O-S-H.
Rosh.com.
Yeah,
right. You got that early on.
Yes. How you doing? Great to be here.
You're not fighting for Rosh.com, though. I mean, it's not like a lot of people running around trying to grab it.
Well, you know what? There's a Russian financial company that took Rosh.net 3 monts after I grabbed Rosh.com. And so, yeah,
I have a feeling with 4 letters. You don't get those .coms anymore.
Yeah, this was certainly, middle of the 90s when I grabbed that, among others. So, I've been around and doing this stuff. And as Terry said, I learned this SEO thing early on. And it really was helping my company and helping me stay alive during this depression we had in Detroit. And, like Terry said, during that time, it's like, wow, I really need to learn more. So I enhanced my knowledge of SEO, got involved in social media, and just kept going from there. And turned into travel. I've been paid to speak as far as Australia, book deals, my podcasts. And ultimately, all that led back to being able to photograph more, which was the ultimate goal.
That was your passion, sounds like. Yep. Yeah, and that's really cool because you're able to still stay with your passion, even though you're doing some other pieces too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Awesome.
But as a result, you end up expanding your business a little bit too, right? Yeah. So now it's not just Rosh Photography; it's Rosh Media Group. Is that properly? Correct. Am I saying that right now?
Absolutely, because I'm still media. I'm still about telling stories. I'm in now, video and audio and still photography all play a role, as well as the written word, to tell a business's story. And so I just put it all under one cap, and it's working out very well because, after you start showing some success, people even outside of the photography business. I focused on my industry when I went down the social media road. I was not going to be the big next social media guru, but I figured, you know what? I may not make it to the head of the table nationally, but at least I can have a seat at the table. and represent my industry. And that's what happened. But then eventually people outside of my industry started saying, hey, you know, can you do this for us too? And that's where it started expanding. And that's where we are today.
We had a guest on a couple of shows ago named Bill Svoboda, and I'm going to probably quote him on every other show for the rest of the time because his mantra is own your block, right?
Yeah.
So
Nice.
just be number one in your space, and you did an excellent job of that. So before we get into the tips and the tricks and the ideas and some of the wonderful stuff you're going to share, Janet's got some old school questions for you that we're going to.
Yeah. Well, we love to bring the 80s in because Terry and I went to high school together. So, and we graduated in the 80s.
Remember well.
So,
good for you. Some people don't. So
that's true. A lot of people I work with weren't born. So,
so great. That's great. So we first started back to junior high, maybe. What was kind of the posters, things on your wall? What was it? Just name one.
Well, just one. And, you know, I'm coming out of the closet on this one. It was Duran Duran.
We have a match.
Yes.
All three of us.
I saw him this summer.
I'm still a fan.
You saw him this summer too? Janet was at that show.
I went to the one
in Minneapolis, but
yep, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome.
Were they still good?
We froze up a little bit.
Nope.
Coming out of the closet. That's
yes, they were. Oh, he's frozen. Oh, I wonder. He said we froze.
Oh,
he's frozen.
Yeah, that's always fun. Here, so can I pause this?
Oh, there it went. Okay, no, you're good.
Oh, there we go.
That's fine.
It was Duran Duran that kind of stuck.
I know.
Duran.
I'm surprised I have that much energy in me, actually.
Well, you wouldn't if you didn't say Duran Duran.
Yeah.
You say Duran Duran or Backstreet Boys, I'm all over it. But anyway.
We can depart on Backstreet Boys, but Duran Duran all the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So we have a second question then. What was your favorite 80s tune?
Well, you know, I obviously, you know, the Duran Duran songs, but you know what I really liked about 80s tunes were those ear candy songs. You know, those one-hit wonders throughout the 80s that just couldn't get out of your head. And there's just a whole stream of them. So I'm just going to have to say ear candy songs of the 80s. Love them.
The one-hit wonders. The one-hit wonders.
Yeah,
okay.
Tons of them.
I have one non-word for both of you, and that non-word is Kajagoogoo.
Yes. Produced by Nick Rhodes, by the way, of Duran Duran.
No kidding. I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really coming out of the closet today.
Your wife will be so proud, Raj.
Yeah, uh-oh.
What? What's his name, by the way?
Suffered.
She what?
Wendy.
Just kidding. Sorry.
No.
Too funny. All right, so let's actually get into some of the content that we wanted to talk about. So SEO and copy seems to be huge, right? And with all that's going on, if you're not standing out from Google's perspective, you're basically dead to the rest of us. So what do we need to know about making sure that Google finds us?
Well, you know, there was a algorithm update a number of years ago called Panda. And it's become more and more powerful as part of the whole SEO world. We started off in SEO all about keywords. I mean, we're talking years ago, 15 years ago. It was about keywords, keyword stuffing, getting the words out there, all these tricks. And then Google, you know, just keeps getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And then it's all about the links, and links are still important. I mean,
yes, backlinks. But we would just, you know, like take thousands and send it over to a website.
Why not? I mean, this is all about the links. That is the patent for Google. It was all about the backlinks. And so we got more and more into the backlinks and getting more and more. And then we get, of course, all get crushed because
I know.
With Penguin. And now today we're back to on-site SEO. So we have on-page and off-page SEO. Off-page has to do with developing your authority with links and actually citations. I mean, you can be mentioned, your company name could be mentioned in a reputable news article. And as long as the right words are around it and it describes what you're doing, Google will consider that as part of an off-link citation of even without a link. So, Google is getting smarter and is trying to depend less and less on links. But what we do have control of, certainly, is the development of our text and our information on our website, which hopefully, if you do it right, attracts more links and more natural links, of course, and high authority if you do it right. So when it comes to writing, here's the key. And this is the big secret. I'm going to lay it out in the very beginning here. Here's the big secret to as far as I'm concerned, for SEO as well as social media, and that's activity. Being active regularly and continuously, and the more the better. And people ask me, how often should I blog? Well, okay, once a month, is that okay? Well, it's okay, but once a week is better. How about twice a week? Well, that's okay, yes, but 3 times a week is better, or every day is even better than that. How about blogging once a day? That's great. But twice a day is better. I mean, that's the point, is that quality and more. Now, you get 7 is better than once a day, but obviously you have to consider consistency in the amount of time you can actually
our lives that we live. Yes, exactly. And most business owners, I mean, we find even just posting on Facebook, if you try to tell them you have to do it daily, they have a heart attack, I mean,
absolutely. But the more you do, the higher,
totally. Yep. I always tell them
quality plays a role too.
Yep, exactly. And Facebook comes Facebook. Well, you can just pay for it then.
Right.
Post less, but you pay for it. But you don't have that option with the websites.
Right. And a lot of people are going to, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and all those other locations. And people have kind of strayed away from blogging. And blogging is just as important as it was 5-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research for a client the other day. We wanted to connect with other bloggers, and I kept going to related blogs, and no one had updated since 2010. Maybe 2000, and nothing new. Is really, I mean, if you really start looking, a lot of people have just started sharing and offering their opinion, because remember, that's where a lot of people shared their opinion, was on their blog, and now they can do it on Facebook and Twitter and so forth, so they don't put the blog post in. And so there are, although there are plenty of blogs out there, I mean, we're not lacking blogs, but I think the ones that are really winning is, just as we mentioned, the ones that post 7 times a day, and they have multiple writers. And so if you really want to compete in that area, and especially in a heavy, high traffic area, you have to have a lot of posts, and quality and length is important. Probably, was it less than, was it 20% of blogs? I think I'm getting this statistic a little wrong, are less than 1,000 words. And the point is,
I believe it.
most blogs are less than 1,000 words. Posts are less than 1,000 words. So Google does consider length, and actually length is very shareable, and people like to share long blog posts. So if you can, you're probably better off, rather than doing 250 blog posts every day, you're better off probably doing one, but really long one, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 words.
It's interesting. Never heard that.
Really focused in on a topic and really becoming that, developing yourself as an anchor expert on that. And
I've heard length is important, Janet. Just
Terry. I knew Terry couldn't.
What show is this? Did I tune into the wrong show?
Rosh,
that is Terry. That's Terry.
Brought it up,
It's Terry. What are we gonna do?
A lot of people will say it's not, but they're not telling the truth.
So, we use a tool on.
Stop it! You just stop it right there.
The tool is, it says you 300 words plus. It needs to in order to get the good SEO. I can't think what it's called. In WordPress.
Yoast. That would be
Yoast. Yes. Thank you.
And
Yes.
Yoast is a very good plugin for WordPress. I would highly recommend.
Okay.
And honestly, I recommend at least 1,000 words if you really want to make a difference. Unless you have a
Really
very
good to know.
specific niche. If you have a really specific niche, I mean, if you look at the posts and the information that generally is in the top areas, top 5 ranking, they're usually at least 2,000 words. And they're really involved. So you have take a look at the competition. Now you can, if you see the competition and they're, it's a very specialized niche and it's only 500 words, well then, hey, write a post for 700 words and you should probably do just fine if you have a little bit more information. So compare what is there and then base it off of that and start building and find a good topic, find a topic, think about the things that customers ask you. That is a great way to find topics. What's that thing that they keep asking you over and over and over again? Write about it and become that expert. One of the things, here's a good example of one of the things that I've done. I write and this is probably something that this is something I'm talking more and more about and I'm getting more and more requests for. And it was just kind of a random blog post I did 4 years ago on pricing for photographers. How do you price? People kept asking me, how do you price your photography? And so I wrote a blog post about 700 words. I got great traffic. And so I said, I put a date in it to make it relevant. And so, how much should you charge in 2013 for photography? And then next year I said, I'm going to do another one. That really went well. And I did the 2014 version and I got more and I made it longer. Each one I make longer. My 2016 version was, I think, 8,000 words.
It's like
and
a book.
The day I launched it, I got 30,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
And
crazy.
And it got picked up all over the place. And next year, people are now actually what I do is here's a little tip. When I have a few blog posts on that kind of topic, what I do is I have a little, just a link. It just says, download Rosh Sillars, 10 questions to ask your client before you price. Since June, I've received 600 emails just from like 5 or 6 archived blog posts of people who are searching and finding those blog posts.
So you go back and you feed in to build that email list.
I just put that little link, at the top of the page. Are you interested in downloading it? And this is my more popular ones because, I get hundreds of people coming still to this day to that post. So
nice.
Among the other ones. So there's a lot of things you can do with your old content. Guess what I'm saying too, as if you have a year's worth of blog content, there's nothing wrong with updating every year the stuff that you had written before and leave the old stuff there. And Google really does appreciate the fact that you're updating that information and will not penalize you. People get into this duplicate content thing. Yes, it is an issue. You have to be careful. But as long as you're updating good quality content, Google will know to go to your newest version and will give you more authority.
Do you retitle it at that point or do you leave it as the same title?
Well, for example, 2014, 15, 16, I'll put that. And I may have a little bit of different title, but it just depends. I'll test titles and see what is working. Yeah.
If you change the title, though, does it change where you had sent the people in the first place, or does?
Well, I don't change the title of the original.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
I rewrite it. I take that blog post and I rewrite it.
Okay.
I may have a new title, but if that title works really well in terms of keywords and is driving the traffic, maybe it's because people are asking, how much should I charge? Well, I may want to actually put that in the title because that's really important because I want to find the intent of that person, which is really important today in SEO. When you are writing the article, what is the intent? Because RankBrain, which is one of the newer algorithms within Google, which is kind of an AI, artificial intelligence element. And now today, you really need to think about the intent of that person. So, for example, for some of my clients, I'll actually, another little secret, put in for hire in the title. And if it's relevant. Why? because let's use my website. If I put photographer for hire, now Google knows I am a photographer for hire versus a photography page or a how-to page, or something that's related to photography. Totally, you know exactly what it's about, and it'll help me rank higher for people when Google knows the intent of that searcher to rank me higher in the search results. So little things like that. And so your writing should be about the intent. What is the intent of that person searching for the answer to that problem? And then you can build off of that. And that's why the how much should I charge articles have worked very, very well. I'm excited about 2017. I was thrilled 2015. I thought, wow, this is huge. This is great. And, I ended up in the first week of my next article with the same amount of traffic I had the entire year the previous with the previous version. So when you build on it, you get rewarded. So
does it pay back at all to go back into your previous written and just add two of them? So like, let's just say, for an example, which we do, we have a blog post around this podcast that is shorter, maybe hit the 300 words. Would it benefit us to go in and edit that and make it longer, or is it kind of the lifeline over with that post?
No, I mean, it's not, but if you think of it this way, this should answer the question. Every page is an opportunity to be found by Google. People still find my 2015 and 14 versions. I still get traffic from those. So what I would do is I would create a new blog post expanding it and keep the old ones. And now you have two pages, a little bit different, maybe a little bit different headline or different subheads. Enough difference to maybe, because remember, people are talking into their phone and people are searching in different ways. Google Instant gives them different options. The point is that I think the current number is about 15% of search queries every day have never been asked before. So as many different ways in which you can, and think of how many searches are out there, but think of how many different ways we talk to our phone or ask questions. And so if you can have another page with a little bit different information expanded upon and not thinly changed, you really should make good quality changes and updates to it. Google will reward you for that, and you'll be able to capture more variations of that question.
So I've seen stats that say there's 1 billion searches on Google a day. What does that number seem even remotely relevant or close?
Honestly, I don't know what the current, yes, I'm sure if not more.
If not more. So you're saying that like 150 million searches per day are brand new, never been asked before.
Right.
Holy cow. Wow, that's just staggering. So it's so funny because we always think, okay, well, this is the right way to title this post. But BS, there's a gazillion different ways that could be the right way to title that post. As many as you have audience members.
Well, one thing I highly recommend that will give you a clue is make sure you're connected to Webmaster Tools. A lot of people put in Google Analytics and think they're done. No, you need to have Webmaster Tools in there because Webmaster Tools will show you all of the different queries and what people are actually asking for where you're showing up. And it may show you that, okay, for this query, you're showing up as number 50. But there are a lot of people asking this question. Imagine if you could get in the top 10. So you can really get some good insights using your Webmaster Tools and seeing what's going on out on the web. So it's not, unlike before Google took away the keywords in analytics, but that was just telling you how people were finding your site. Google Webmaster Tools shows you what's actually happening on the web. And, of course, Google Trends is another way to go, but I think Webmaster Tools is a better place because it shows you all of the relevant queries related to your website.
Very good. Yeah, great information.
That's cool. Do you have a recommendation? You have a favorite Webmaster tool, or is that actually what they're just called? Because you guys are slick and in the business. For the rest of us that are not even near it, is there a place that we should go?
Google.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, system. I mean, it's Google's system. It's totally. And actually, it's important too because that is really the best way and really only good way to really, unless you're a big time advertiser, to connect with Google. So for example, if you have a page that's been penalized, that's where you go to disavow links. If you've gotten malware, Google, it happened to me last year about this time. I ended up with some malware and Google threw me right off the radar. And I found it, I fixed it, and I let Google know I'm fixed. I just put it in there and I was back ranked where I was within about 4 months. But unless you put that in there, Google's is gonna take its time. So
it's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. And I had to work on that at one point when I was doing what you do. Yeah. And it's not fun. I would just say hire you to do it, because if you're doing it yourself and you want to try to do it yourself, it's not an easy thing.
No.
Sounds painful. Wow.
But if you have a new page and you want it to be indexed quickly, you can you can use Fetch, which is on Webmaster Tools, and it'll tell you a number of things. Webmaster Tools will show you how Google sees your website. What keywords does Google see in your website? Cool. And it'll rank them, 1 through 100. Photographer is the number one thing we see, and then hopefully Detroit and food, or all the different things related to that website, and it'll show you. And so if your keywords are number 8, 9, and 10, and you're targeting, you want more people for these keywords related to your company, and Google sees your website is relevant as 8, 9, 10, you got a problem, and you need to fix that. But at least and knowing the issue is half the battle. So
yeah.
A lot of good information.
Great point.
No, that's really, really important, right? And so it really starts with, how do you want to be known, right? Yes. Answer that question, and then make sure your website represents that, and you can verify that by how many of those keywords Google sees. Is that a good way to summarize what you said? Yeah. And, today you have to be careful with keyword stuffing. You don't want to put too many keywords in there. Make sure your title tags, your headlines, tell people what that page is about. Think of it just like a newspaper. You have a good headline, the title tag, and everything below it should be focused on that topic. That's why, some people do not rank very well, is because they have, say, too much information on it, or too much variety on their page. You want to show everything. Make every page very focused. Remember, every page in your website is an opportunity to be found. Make sure every page is focused on a topic, a single topic, and have a good headline, and then subheads, maybe every 300 words or so, maybe a little bit less. Don't make your, don't write. I have a friend who writes at like a, master's level, and I say, yeah, but you're not communicating to anyone, because no one can understand what you're writing.
True, it's not a blog writing. Yeah, blog writing is very special compared to other type of.
You need to be at about 5th grade level, in your writing, and you can use.
Great point.
You can use tools such as HemingwayApp.com, I believe is what it's called. Just type in Hemingway app, and that'll help you a lot. And keep your sentences under 20 words. Don't use passive voice. Just keep it very engaging, traditional, good content. And then when you're done, you're done. But do a little research, see what else you can add to your post. If you're done at 200 words, know you need to add some more if you're really going to make a dent.
True.
I had no idea. I always thought the same thing Janet did. It was like, hey, you get to 300 words and you could be done.
You're lost in the noise at 300 words. Unless you're the only one writing about it.
Now we got more work to do, Terry.
Good Lord. Having never read 1,000-word blog post, I didn't even know people cared about those things.
And I'm a fan of bullet points or 1, 2, 3s, or, because like you just said, 5th grade, I come from an elementary education background, and, who wants to read? I mean, I think when I go through, think about how you're reading the other blog posts you're reading, and what are you reading? You're reading the main headlines.
Yes.
So I think that type of thing is, blog writing is different from a book writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, where you can really expand, but you make a good point to bullet points. That's great. Google loves that. Google loves the, throwing in some photos. Actually, there's a lot of, I'm doing a talk next week, and we're talking about driving digital and imagery. And the more photos you put in, the more shareable actually your blog post is.
That's interesting.
People tend to share it more. And if you, actually, I kind of got beat out I talked about that pricing guide that works out. Well, I decided to do an experiment to see what would happen, because some pretty big blogs decided, well, could we republish this? I said, okay, but wait 5 days, just 3 or 5 days, so Google knows where the original content came from. But they added a bunch of photographs to it, and they kicked my butt. And they totally, so they added to it. The other ones who didn't were fine, but the one that did kept adding photographs to it. Now, they have a little more authority than I do, so that's certainly part of it also. It's a well-known photography blog in the industry. But the other ones were well-known too, and they didn't, it was the one with all the extra photos. So that's really important. So photos, videos, bullet points, variety of information, that is very helpful, because Google actually pushes the play button and listens to that video and takes note of the keywords and how it's tagged. All that stuff is very, very important. And using the alt tags in to describe that photograph. Google does not recognize the 1,000 words that photograph represents. So you need to help Google with the words around it. It's getting better, but it's not there yet.
So you have to tag the photo and make sure that you're putting whatever the photo represents, because that was my thought always is, how can Google see a video, or how could it see a photo? So those things really aren't relevant, but you're saying, again, they are absolutely relevant and necessary.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, and it might help you show up in Google Images too. I mean, even if the blog post isn't showing up, then you could show up in the search at the top. Because
you're absolutely correct. Yep. Just another way to be found.
Nice. Wow. I feel, now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because.
Wait, there's more.
Stop.
Hey, tip of the iceberg. So
yeah, but let's just, and it's funny because we blog a lot. I mean, I have a personal blog too, and then we also have this, so we have two going on. But there's a lot of people out there listening right now that maybe they just blog once in a while, that kind of thing. Let's give an action step to somebody that's a little bit maybe newer. What would you say for a beginner? What are the best things to kind of get into this blogging world and get found? I mean, you gave a lot of tips, but
yeah, I would start off with, what are those questions? We mentioned this before. What are the questions that your customers are asking you? Write that down, and then decide what are the topics, or how often could you share? How often can you write? Be realistic about it. We're talking SEO, search engine optimization. We're talking about being found via the search engines. But if you have a really good post that's 300 words and you're sharing it in social, it could very well get picked up through Facebook or Twitter, and you could still gain a lot of traffic and if it's really good, with a lot of good information, people very well may share it. So I'm not saying that a 300-word blog post is not, you can't have any success with it. I'm just talking via search engines. So that is the better way to go. So take the time, figure out what you can do. Are you more engaged? If you're really engaged in social and want to promote just like you do, promote via Facebook, fine. Then you can just have a good blog post, still have a photo with it or a video with it. And that is excellent. Decide what you can do, what you can dedicate, be consistent. So find the topics that your customers ask, be consistent, post on a regular basis, and then don't be afraid to repurpose your content and update your content on a regular basis. If you can do those three things, you should have some success.
Great. Perfect. Now tell us, Rosh, where can they find you? Where's the best place to connect with you? That kind of thing.
Sure.
And your books too.
Well, the books, actually, I'm working on my 5th book right now, which is going to be more relevant to all the things that we're talking about here. The best place to find me is Twitter at Rosh Sillars, and my email is very easy. It's my name, Rosh, ROSH, @rosh.com. And and guess what? You probably can find me very easily by Googling. So,
Yeah. Well, we have to do what we preach, don't we?
I can't find this guy anywhere. What the heck?
what the heck? Where is he?
Stop using Bing. Oh, that's funny. That's
Awesome. Yeah, no, this was great content, and I think it's so valuable for everyone to know these little pieces. Obviously, it goes a lot deeper than that, and if somebody has a budget to have you help them, obviously that's where they should go. And I'm telling you, if they have a messed up website with things like, just hire him. Just
Thank you.
Because I have dealt with that. Yeah, it's definitely not fun. And just get your site cleaned up and then you can move on. Awesome. Well, let's talk about where we can find Business Growth Time. We actually have a Facebook group, and it's found, obviously, where? Facebook, but we have a new link we're kind of excited about. It's called businessgrowthtime.com.xyz.
Well, no, but it's not, though. So you already said it wrong, right? Isn't it just business growth time?
I did say it wrong.
.xyz.
That's all it is.
There's no .com. The .com is now .xyz because that's what's up. That's what all the cool kids are doing.
We just thought, we always have an E at the beginning, so we'll add an XYZ here.
It's almost like the alpha and the omega, but it's more like the epsilon and the omega.
And you can find all past episodes of Business Growth Time at businessgrowthtime.com.
Fantastic. Rosh, you dropped a ton of knowledge, man. Thank you so very, very much for sharing your wisdom with us and with our listeners today. It was fantastic. Fun to have you. Janet, I hope you feel really better really soon. And I'll look forward to seeing both of you in the near future. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.